We have one other unit that seems to be very popular for us when we take trades. Is a rubber-tired skid steer. This happens to be a New Holland rubber-tired skid steer. And we spoke earlier about an excavator, a midi-class excavator, about how we start, how we stop, how we finish, what we talk about. I think it's very important, again, to have a start and a stop point. I, again, like to start at what I call the front of the machine or the business end of the machine. This is where things happen. And we got to put that detective's hat on again. We want to start looking at the machines, looking for issues front to back. We want to start using our eyes and trust our eyes. What looks right, what looks wrong, and we always have to compare it to new. I know we're not a New Holland dealer, however, you should have a feel for what some cylinders should look like, what the coupler should look like, cutting edges. Because when you can start comparing in your mind the condition of a machine against new, it'll enable you to start making decisions about maybe if it needs repaired or cost of repairs, etc. When we start on a skid steer and we want to talk about a trade-in, when I come to the front, there's a lot of things we're going to ask you as salesmen, as well as, again, a customer or a buyer. We want to know what size of bucket, what condition of bucket. There's all kinds of different buckets. This happens to be a low-profile dirt bucket. Low profile meaning actually the height of the back of the bucket. It also has a bolt-on cutting edge. And one of the things I see about this bolt-on cutting edge is it actually looks like it's in good shape. However, it's missing a couple of bolts to bolt it in. And what's happened, probably when they've ran the machine, it's caught this edge as they've loaded, and it's starting to pull down away from the bottom of the bucket itself. Again, if that continues to persist and we don't get a bolt in there, one thing that happens is you might start wearing down the edge of this because this will peel back. That becomes very costly because you start welding on a bucket. So those are things we want to recognize. That new cutting edge and bolts is a couple $100. So we need to understand we need to keep that cutting edge healthy because that bucket's probably $1,100. $600 to $1,100 depending on the bucket. There's different buckets we can find on a skid steer. You can have a 4-in-1 bucket. You can have a set of forks. You can have a GP bucket. It's a much larger bucket. Has a little more depth to carry more. This is what a general contractor would use just to move dirt. The other thing you definitely have to pay attention to is what type of coupler. In our industry today, pretty much everybody's went to like what's called a universal coupler, meaning about 90% of all attachments out there will fit on this brand, the Case brand, the Cat brand, all the different brands, because it's tough for a manufacturer to say, I'm only going to make attachments to fit a certain brand. So this universal quick coupler has allowed manufacturers just to build kind of one standard bucket to fit pretty much about everything. Again, there's some specialty items that fit specialty machines, but this is just a universal coupler. It is actually a hydraulic coupler on this New Holland. You can see the hydraulic lines run to it. Basically, it's going to run hydraulic pressure to release a cylinder that's going to lift a pin up out of the bottom and allow you to walk out from underneath this bucket where the coupler itself grabs the back of the bucket. For a skid steer example, on the front of this machine, having these two tilt cylinders for the bucket. There can be a lot of rollover, material, debris, etc. get into these cans. And one of the things that happens with those, you can crack it, put a hole in it, or break fittings off. So again, we want to make sure we're looking for any non-manufactured weldments, any small, what they call scabbed up welds to plug holes on a can. It's tough for them to keep the hydraulic pressure up. You'll get some pass-by and leaks. It's also important, again, to find any of our grease zerks, make sure the machines are getting greased, because again, this on the business end is always in the dirt or in the material. And what ends up happening is they don't get grease, you get a lot of dust, debris, etc. within the pins and bushings. It'll increase your wear. As most of you know, there's multiple styles of controls in skid steers. This actually is a mechanical control with foot controls, so it's hand and foot controls. In a hand and foot control machine, basically what you have is similar to an H pattern that we're familiar with in the Case product, where two hands go forward, the machine goes forward. You pull them back, it goes forward and back, you move yourself left and right. but also your functions of your bucket and your loader arms are actually on your hands. This machine, however, has what's called foot controls with it. So you go forward and backwards, then you move your feet to actually raise and dump and curl the bucket. So these will actually be mechanical foot controls. Now on new machines, because the industry is going to more of a joystick style control, you'll have controls on one hand to go forward, back, left, and right, and all your loader functions on one side. One of the things you'll notice on the new Holland machine, again, I have to give it some credit. There is some access things that are very, very good. You get your hands-on filters. You have sight gauges. This actually machine has a probably a glow plug to plug this machine in to heat the machine when it's cold. Batteries, probably access a battery compartment here on the side, pulling these off. Any of your fill points for hydraulics are here. Engine oil check and fill. Here's actually your check spot. Here's your fill. Fuel add. I want to go ahead from this point also. It's always important, as we've talked in the past, about checking air filters. It can tell us a little bit of how the machines are being taken care of by the customer. As I take the cover off, it's got one locking spot. Actually, you'll see on a lot of these machines, there might be a little squeeze cover that's on here. This one's missing. Basically what that is as dust gathers and it falls into a spot, it's supposed to fall out. They've lost that on this machine. When I take my filter out, this unit, it's a little cumbersome getting in and out, but it does have an inner air filter which doesn't look too bad. An outer air filter, again, great way to always check these to see the condition they're in. I'm going to tell you that this one is not very good. So again, this is going to be something we probably should address. Specifically for this, we sell this to a customer. I hope as we look at this on trade, these are the kind of things we catch. I'll go ahead and put it back in now and put the cover back on. That's the back of the new Holland skid steer and the engine component. Thanks for watching today. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel or go find us at www.southeasternequip.com.